Welcome to my video on how to make star lanterns. Now these things can be seen in all sorts of funky little shops. They're sold for, I don't know, you can buy some of them that are really cool for about $25 to $30. They're really neat when they're hanging. They show all sorts of really cool shadows. This is my demo piece, and it's not that great. I was experimenting. And what I'm going to do today is give you a little bit of advice on what kind of paper to use and how to fold it. Okay, so each prong, each point in the star is one piece of paper. So you're going to need, if you're doing a 5-pointed star, you will need 5 pieces of paper that will be cut into a square. So there's the obvious, well, not necessarily the obvious, but you can use scrapbooking paper with patterns or no pattern. I broke apart a piece of a shopping bag. I deliberately asked for brown paper bags when I went grocery shopping, and then I took them apart and cut segments of them into squares. They're a little bit large, but the shopping bag seems to work really well because it's the right, it's a really good weight. So the thing with the paper that you need to be aware of is that paper comes in different weights, and you can go as thin as rice paper, which honestly doesn't work very well because it collapses, and when you're gluing it's really hard to keep it together. It kind of screws up a little bit. So I do not suggest using rice paper unless you really know what you're doing. Okay, scrapbooking paper comes in different qualities. This particular one is very thin, while this one is thick. The thicker one is going to last longer, it's going to be more durable, but it's going to be much more difficult to cut out all of the different holes and things that you would need for the light to shine through. So unless you have a really good X-Acto knife with replacement blades, I do not suggest doing very thick paper. Keep it thinner. You can find a lot of cool scrapbooking papers at Michael's and Joann's for pretty cheap, and if you do go there to buy that, I would suggest getting double the amount that you need, so buy 10 of them so that you will at least get one good star. So to the folding process, the YouTube video that I have seen on, well, obviously YouTube, is really good, but it tends to make it look really easy, and when you're learning how to do this, it's not that easy. So if you have a square piece of paper, this one's fairly large, so you can go smaller. I think this is 12 by 12. If you want to go 10 by 10, 8 by 8, that'll be a pretty decent sized star. So you're going to fold from corner to corner at a diagonal. Bring that tip together and try to get the corners pretty right on. Sometimes they'll be a little bit off at points, but as best you can. And fold. Okay? And then you will open it back up, take the next corner and fold that so that the line of that paper lines up with the fold that you just did. It's almost like folding a paper airplane. Okay. The next one, you're going to turn it around and you're going to do the same thing, only you're going to overlap this part of it. This will ensure that you have an area to glue later. It's really difficult to get 2 pieces, like tiny pieces of paper, to adhere well without getting glue all over the place and screwing the whole thing up. Okay, at this point, seeing that I have a pretty busy background here, I'm going to take a gel pen in a bright color. You can use any pen really, but I like to do the bright ones so that I see it better. And I'm going, ouch, oops, I don't know why I said ouch, but you're going to draw a line here. So that when you open it up, you're going to have a space that you know that you have to put glue on. Okay, the next step is to get the scissors out. You cut the triangular part off. Like that. And after that, you need a ruler. Going from, it's kind of hard to tell, but going from where this one ends, where that crease is, which is about right here, you're going to measure up about 1 inch. You could do 1 inch, 1.5 inches, but I don't, as long as it's going up that way, you're going to be consistent with it though too. You're making 5 of these exactly the same way. And put a little dot where the inch mark is. And then the next part, you're going to line up the corner to that dot. Just double checking. I'm on a really weird desk. There's a ledge here that keeps catching the ruler. Okay. There you go. And then from here, okay. So now we're going to cut this. Okay, and then the next step is you're going to trim the edges like this, just a little snip, and I'm not really measuring it. And then another little triangular piece right there in the center, like that. So you should end with this shape. Okay. So, as far as doing the designs are concerned, I like to make stencils typically. But one thing I want to point out though is if you have a scrapbooking paper that is really interesting patterns, that you can extract some of those shapes out of. Like this soccer ball. I see a really cool star shape here. Like this. You can do this one and this, and I'm just going to kind of go through and highlight the areas that I'm going to cut. And it can be scattered throughout. The one thing you want to be careful of, unless you want like double the size, if you do anything on the edge here where the fold is, it's going to expand to double. And sometimes you can use that to your advantage, but otherwise I don't know that I really want to do that. The other thing too is these things down here are going to be flaps. This is going to come in handy later when we're gluing the pieces together. So that's a flap. Oh, and I forgot. You're going to cut the flaps. One side of the thing is going to be cut off. So I'm going to leave this flap here, and that one, but then cut this. In the video that I had posted on Canvas, she glued this first, but I'm finding that it's a little bit easier to wait until you have everything cut out and then start gluing. So for your cutouts, You want to make sure that you have a good X-Acto blade and all of that stuff, but I would keep these folded, press pretty hard, and do the cut here so that it also cuts on the back. And then that way you will end up, this is my other one that I was working on, you will end up with a radial design. So I cut here and here, here and here, and then you open it up and it works. Okay, so for this particular one, it was really hard to transfer or draw anything on there, so I used a stencil and a gel pen. Okay, so that way things were somewhat regular for the whole thing. So that is that installment. I'm going to do another video next on how to glue all of these together. So here are my 5 pieces. This is one that's actually already glued, or 2 that are actually already glued together. And you can see that the flap here that we cut out, that adheres to the smooth area.